Hello, I'm Tyler, and today I'm going to talk about cooking some spare ribs on the Kamado Joe Jr. I like to try and make the best of my spare ribs, so I'm going to give you some tips, stuff that I've picked up along the way using the 3-2-1 method to cook these ribs and cook some vegetables here as well. So I'll talk about the vegetables first since they're right in front of me. The vegetables are just some green beans with about a quarter stick of butter, kind of cut into fourths, and then half of a red onion. And I just put black pepper and garlic powder, and I think I put a little onion powder on there maybe, and salt, considerable amount of salt. So you can put whatever you want in here. This is going to be my drip pan. This is going to go underneath the ribs so that anytime the ribs drip their fat, it's going to go onto this and season these with some of that rib stuff. So this is just an extra way to get another layer out of your little Kamado Joe Jr. grill. So for now, I'm going to put these in the fridge because I want the ribs to get hot before I put these on, because I don't think it's going to take a full 6 hours to cook these. I think it'll probably take 2 or 3. If you had potatoes in here, you would want to pre-cook them because the potatoes take forever to cook. And then you can cube them up and put them in there, whatever you want to do with them. But I just like something simple. And you also want to try and get these on after the smoke has died down quite a lot on your grill, because the smoke tends to make these absorb smoke really bad. So that's enough about the second layer. I'll show you how to do that later on, but we'll take a walk outside. I've already got the ribs on, and I'll tell you about how I've prepared the ribs and what I'm going to do with them, and you'll be able to see how the Joe Jr. can handle a spare rib. It's just half a rack, so we'll take a look at it. All right, so we're out here with the Joe Jr., and I'm not going to talk too much about what seasonings I put on the ribs or how I did it, but I will give a brief overview. I want this channel to be more of a what you can do with the Joe Jr. channel than how to cook this thing or how to cook this thing. There's plenty of videos like that out there. So I'll talk a little bit about these ribs and how I did it, but you can see I put some mustard on there as a binding agent to just hold the seasonings on. And the reason I did that is because I dry brine all my meat. I put salt on it and then I put it in the refrigerator overnight. And when you get it out of the refrigerator, it's fairly dry. So the skin, the outside, whatever, the membrane. So in order to make the seasoning stick a little thicker, I put the mustard on it so that it'll adhere a little better. Just something to hold it on the outside. So I put the mustard on, and I put some black pepper and onion powder, garlic powder, and the salt went on before because it's a dry brine. I do that on both sides. I don't remove the membrane or anything. I leave the membrane on the back of the ribs. So the Joe Jr., I talked a little bit about the 2-layer cooking that I haven't seen anybody else do. But what you can do is you probably can't see it from the angle you're at, but there's the deflector plate goes on the bottom. It rests on the bottom, and then in between the deflector plate and the grilling grate, I have a little bitty tin that I bought at like my local grocery store, and the tin is just a drip pan, so it catches all the drippings. So whenever I come back out here in about an hour and a half, I'll put the vegetables on, and they'll start to catch all those drippings from the ribs instead of them going into this pan. And I'll probably leave the vegetables on for the rest of the cook, and they'll be nicely seasoned for this. I'm also going to hook up my Flame Boss to keep track of the temperature so that I don't have to do anything. So we'll come back here in a few minutes, in a little bit. All right, I'm back out here at the Kamado Joe Jr., and I put on my vegetables. I removed the drip tray and put these in there. And now I'm just going to put the rib rack back on top. Or rib rack, you know, the grilling grate. And pick it all up as one. Drop it right back down in there. And I only have 1 more hour on these ribs unwrapped, and then I'm going to put some butcher's paper over them and let them cook that way for a bit. For 2 hours, I'll leave them with butcher's paper on them. And hopefully the vegetables will continue to catch some of the drippings, but I do it this way because I don't want to put the vegetables on early and have them get burnt or something, because it won't take 6 hours to cook these vegetables. It'll probably take 2 or 3, I imagine. All right, so we're back out here at the grill, and I cooked the ribs for 4 hours because they're pretty big ribs. They're spare ribs, not baby back. So I cooked them for 4 hours uncovered, and I cooked them for 2 hours wrapped in butcher paper, and I've cooked them for about 45 minutes uncovered, and I put the barbecue sauce on them first. And I haven't basted them or anything. I just left the barbecue on because I put it on pretty thick. So there they are. They look amazing. And I put the vegetables back on them, back underneath there, when I unwrapped the ribs. So at the same time I took them out of the butcher paper, I also put the vegetables back down there to reheat them. And the green beans weren't all the way cooked either, so it helped them finish. So I'm going to take these off, get them inside, let them rest for probably 10 to 15 minutes, and we're going to have some good dinner, hopefully. All right, so this is a finished product. I took a couple ribs out of the middle. There's the beans. We'll give one of the beans a try. They're kind of sweet. I guess the fat from the ribs kind of sweetened them up. I didn't put any sugar on them. Maybe the onion. Might be the onion. They're really good. I like those a lot. I think you'll really like them. Oh man. Yeah, 4 hours is better than 3. So again, 4 hours unwrapped, 2 hours wrapped, and the last hour I actually did 45 minutes. I put the barbecue sauce on them, and I put the beans back on to warm them up. Man, those are really tender.